Well, good morning. And welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Toledo on Sunday, October 12th, which I can't believe we're here, 2025. I'm Rebecca Phillips, today's service associate, and I'm here with Reverend Tim Barger, our senior minister. Tom Sheehan is at the piano today, and our First Unitarian Choir is here as well. Tristan Korneman will tell our story, and the tech crew today is led by Walter McGee as producer and camera operator. Krista Schneider, president of the Board of Trustees, is our TV director, and David Strickler, commissioned lay minister, is on the soundboard. We have many more volunteers helping as well, greeters in the lobby, whom you saw, religious education helpers for today's RE activities, and we have a kitchen crew preparing for the all-important coffee hour, led by Carla Logan Mercer, our kitchen coordinator. The only doctrine of our church is love, the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We welcome everyone as we sang in our opening song. If you're a visitor, you may notice in the pew rack in front of you a yellow card. And if you fill that out, it helps us to know that we have new seekers here. And please feel free to talk to anyone and ask any questions that you have. And we welcome everyone that's joining us today on our Toledo Unitarians YouTube channel. We hope this time serves your spirit.
That's a 100-year-old song that Tom was playing for our service today, which is observing the 100th anniversary of the Scopes monkey trial. I'm Reverend Tim, and let me add to Rebecca's welcome. The flame of the chalice that we light in our gatherings symbolizes courage and illumination and honors our search for truth and meaning. Let's all say the words for chalice lighting together. They're on the screen and in our order of service as Rebecca lights the flame. Our chalice has the spirit of Unitarian Universalism. We light it centered in love. May it glow with sacredness and shine for each and for all. And let's continue reciting together with Rebecca leading us in the covenant of our congregation. This is not a creed, but what we share with general agreement.
The chalice
for
is
some
not,
reason,
the chalice is not lighting. I think we're out of oil.
Hold on. We do have oil still.
Okay, all right.
We might, excuse me,
Well,
for some delicate surgery.
if there's going to be a technical glitch, it will always happen when I am the service associate. This is a law of the universe, just so you're warned. You know, I have jinxed many computers in the last 60 years.
You get to see more solutions this way.
You know, what I actually need is a safety pin.
Well,
Safety
I do
pin.
not have.
You can't get it out of there.
Well,
Hold on.
the point of a safety pin to stab the wick and bring it up. Yes.
okay. Or the other option is I could move a tea light. But
That's too thick. Ah, yes. Thank you. Pardon me for this, as I said, delicate surgery.
okay. And if it does not wish to work, we can move a tea light.
We might end up using a separate alternative chalice today. Because this did fall out on the wrong side.
Oh, dear.
What we will do is today, we have this wonderful chalice that was made by a former member, Alan Brown. It says First Unitarian Church on it. It goes on to the chalice level.
All right.
Good, Rachel, thank you. And we put this back, and we enjoy that there could be a flame there if we knew what we were doing.
And this is a reminder, I think, that even though sometimes the light might be hard to see, it's there. All right. And so if you would, let's recite the covenant of this congregation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now, please join in for some congregational singing with number 343, A Fire Mist and a Planet. For those who are willing and able, please stand. We tried. A fire mist and a planet, a crystal and a cell, a starfish and a saurian, and caves where ancients dwell. The sense of law and beauty, a face turned from the sod. Some call it evolution, and others call it God. Haze on the far horizon, the infinite tender sky, the ripe rich tints of autumn, and sunny sailing by. And over high and lowland, the charm of golden rod. Some people call it autumn, and others call it God. Like tides on crescent sea beach, when birds so new and clean, to our hearts high yearnings come welling suddenly. Upon the mystic ocean, whose rim no foot has trod, some people call it longing, and others call it God. A century old and frozen, a mother sought for her brood, and separate stood headlong, with Jesus on the moon. And millions who go nameless, the straight hard pathway trod, some call it consecration, and others call it God.
Good morning. I would like to invite our younger friends to join for this week's story. Good morning, good morning. All right, my name's Tristan. I'm going to be reading the story to you all today. So, today we are going to be talking about evolution. Go ahead and have a seat. Yes, thank you. Does anyone know what evolution is? All right, what is it?
Evolution is where people evolve from the old pioneer days to the modern days.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. We did good. Right. Perfect. Absolutely. So Google says the definition of evolution is a process in which animals, plants, and organisms are transferred over generations. So, a jillion years ago, our ancestors looked and acted sort of like gorillas and chimpanzees. And now, a jillion years later, we look and act like this. We've changed, allegedly. And that's what evolution is. Humans, other animals, and even plants have changed like that over time. Sometimes animals change to be stronger. Some people think that evolution means survival of the fittest. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, it's basically where people just fight to be the best.
Period. Absolutely. Okay. What that means is that the strongest and fastest animals usually live longer than the slower or weaker ones. Imagine a bird that's gliding through the air, hunting for bugs to eat. She sees a group of moths on a tree and starts flying as fast as she can to catch one. The moths all try to fly away. The strongest and fastest moths will be able to get away from the bird, and the slowest and weakest moths will probably become the bird's dinner. Those strong moths that get away will live long enough to have strong moth babies, and the weak moths might not have any babies at all. So after a lot of years and years, moths all become stronger and faster. That's survival of the fittest. Though that's not exactly what evolution is all about. It is not always the strongest animals that survive, or even the smartest. It is the ones who are best at changing. Here's a true story about evolution that people were actually able to watch. There's a kind of moth in England that's called the peppered moth. They're called that because originally they had a whitish color with tiny black specks that looked like pepper. Peppered moths lived on trees that were also whitish with black speckles, so they blended in. They were hard for the birds to see, which meant it was hard for birds to find and eat them. But then factories started being built in England, and the air became more dirty and polluted. That dirt in the air landed on the white tree trunks, which meant that the trees started becoming more grayish black. The white moths were really easy to be spotted on the trees for the birds, and so they were all gobbled up by the birds. However, the black moths started surviving longer and having more black moth babies. Then guess what? England made laws to reduce pollution and clean the air. Those blackish trees became whitish again. Those blackish moths, chomp. Birds ate them right up. They died. Yes, they sure did. And now the peppered moths, again, white with black specks, were able to survive and have their babies. So now that we know that we don't have to be the strongest, biggest, fastest, or smartest people, what we really have to do is be kind, keep love at the center, and change colors so that we can match the trees. All right. Thank you, everybody.
And let's sing the kids and the religious educators out. This first of 3 intentional times of spiritual practice in our Sunday gatherings. We look beyond ourselves, considering celebrations and sorrows and the state of things. I say intentional because I hope that for many of you, the entire Sunday service is filled with opportunities for spiritual practice. But the intentional ones are for all of us to share in community. Join me for a time of having our spirit open to what is beyond ourselves. There is more hope at this point for some positive movement in Palestine and Israel, with exchanges of people held captive, including the surviving original Israeli hostages taken in the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack. May good develop and actual solutions, such as a true and independent home for Palestinians and the removal of Israel from their places, happen. And may the use of the United States Armed Forces in martial actions in major United States cities end now. There are people in our circles who, with their family and friends, have challenges of life and death, including hospice to help die with dignity. People in our circles also have challenges of health and illness, along with unexpected complications and more medical attention, of home and travel, financial security, and monetary stress. Decisions are being made by ourselves and by others on how we can live our best lives, which sometimes means aspiring to that and realizing that we have moves yet to make to reach aims and goals. And individual and family ways go on with new lives born and many other joys and celebrations. We all have bad days and good. May kindness and gentleness be with us. May we be compassionate to all, as we don't know what other people are going through, so treat one another well. And may we be glad for their celebrations and ours. And let's look for and take part in the good wherever we can find it. Let's continue to have First Unitarian be a place of welcome, of grace, even of refuge from hard times. And that in this liberal religious community, we can help one another, care for ourselves, and have our part in changing the world. Please share mercy and dignity and remember to breathe. One reason we join in religious gatherings is to realize common links. The uncommon is here too. Let's be together in faith, hope, and love. Amen. And now we'll have centering music played and sung by Tom Sheehan. Tom will sing Christ the Apple Tree, a song he discovered through his Singing with the Masterworks chorale, and that inspired him to adapt from a piece for a full choir to his own singing and playing. You know that near the end of our service, we share words from the Buddhist and pagan traditions of some of our church members. Consider this a contribution for our Christian Toledo Unitarians.
The tree of life my soul hath seen, laden with fruit and always green. The trees of nature fruitless be, compared with Christ the apple tree. For happiness I long have sought, and pleasure dearly I have bought. I missed of all, but now I see 'tis found in Christ the apple tree. I am weary with my former toil. Here I will sit and rest a while. Under the shadow I will be of Jesus Christ the apple tree. This fruit doth make my soul to thrive. It keeps my dying faith alive, which makes my soul in haste to be with Jesus Christ the apple tree.
Thank you, Tom. Please join me for a more intentional spiritual practice, a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, which we once called Columbus Day, and some people still use that recognition. For this time of spiritual practice, here are words by Unitarian Universalist minister Jason Cook. The Columbus of childhood, the hardy adventurer, who discovered the New World, a plucky sailor who greeted the Indians with a smile and a vision of new cities and the future. That Columbus is gone, never was. And on the edge of Columbus Day, we sleep no more. We have heard those from history cry, "This was not our story. This discovery was no discovery. It was a conquering of peoples, of civilizations already here." Amid this violent past, this great country was formed and shaped, built on ideals and hopes and justice, but also violence and history twisted, forgotten. But the echoes of that history bubble up, moving across time itself, finding their ways into the hands of a broken man with a gun in his hands. And so we gather in this holy hour, no longer able to dream the dreams of old, no longer able to ignore the truth of where we come from and who still we might be, at least once in a while. So let us give new names to what has been wrongly named. Let us acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day. Let us honor the gifts of the people who were here before, here in their wholeness of life with all its complexities, here in their dreamings of the future, dreams that were not to be. Let us hold this day as a sacred one, feeling the echoes of the past, hearing the voices of the present, and building the way to a future that heals wounds, makes amends, honors the holiness of all humanity. May it be so. Let's observe 1 minute of silence, only hearing the sounds around us. And then together we'll sing number 403, Spirit of Truth, of Life, and of Power, the lyrics to which were written by Horace Westwood, who was the minister of this church from 1919 to 1927. 1 minute of silence.
This reading is from Summer for the Gods, the Scopes Trial, and America's Continuing Debate Over Science and Religion by Edward J. Larson. Throughout the country, scientists and educators reported widespread curiosity about the theory of evolution after John Scopes was indicted for teaching evolution to his students at Ray County Central High School in Dayton, Tennessee in 1925. Liberal ministers joined in the public outcry over the indictment and trial of John Scopes. These events unfolded at the height of the fundamentalist modernist controversy, when interdenominational battles between liberal and conservative Christians made front-page headlines in newspapers across the country. The anti-evolution movement split those factions along the crucial fault line of an evolutionary versus a literal interpretation of the Bible. Neither side could afford to back down on the issue. William Jennings Bryan stood as the recognized leader of fundamentalist forces. Practically every preacher in New York touched on the subject last Sunday, one newspaper reported the following week. Many defended the law, but many others ridiculed it and scored William Jennings Bryan for his dramatic entry into the case. Charles Francis Potter, a prominent Unitarian minister, led the assault on Bryan in Gotham that Sunday and hounded the commoner, as Bryan was called, all the way to Dayton. Seizing the opportunity to educate and enlighten, Potter carried his message to the people of Dayton, originally with the expectation of serving as an expert witness on religion for the defense, but ultimately as a freelance writer and speaker, after he refused to endorse the defense's public position that the theory of evolution was compatible with Scripture.
The State of Tennessee versus John Thomas Scopes, which we know as the Scopes Monkey Trial or the Scopes Evolution Trial, took place in Dayton, Tennessee in July 1925, 100 years ago. That was a big test case over the conflict between science and religion, or more specifically, evolution against fundamentalism. It's called the monkey trial because an essential issue to fundamentalists was that humans were created by God in God's image and couldn't have come into being by evolution from lower forms of life. Their simple illustration was that people aren't monkeys, and the missing link between apes and humans wasn't found. It's still not found today, and attitudes make that less important, as evolution is seen to be non-linear and much less orderly. You might know about Scopes today from the play Inherit the Wind, which is based on that trial but not an exact telling. Many parts do come close to real life, such as the lead characters resembling the real-life William Jennings Bryan, a fundamentalist, for the prosecution, and Clarence Darrow, an agnostic, for the defense. The play and the Scopes trial also have the defense attorney calling the prosecution attorney to testify as a Bible expert. Darrow and his play counterpart got the better of the fundamentalists in that cross-examination. Potter wrote in his autobiography, The Preacher and I, about his own involvement. This is Charles Francis Potter. Late one afternoon, I was walking up the hill to the Monkey House. That was the nickname given the mansion where people connected to the defense, including Potter and Unitarian minister L.C. Burkhead of All Souls Unitarian Church in Kansas City, Missouri, and their wives, were staying and also helping with advice and office tasks for the defense team. On the way home to supper with a tired old lawyer. At the top of the hill, he stopped and remarked, "I'm going to put a Bible expert on the stand about day after tomorrow, I reckon. No, not you. A greater expert than you. Greatest expert in the world, according to him." "You mean Bryan himself? You're going to put him on the stand and question him? Nobody expects that. That would be a master stroke." "Never mind the master stroke," he growled. "Here you know your Bible. Well, you're not going down to the courtroom tomorrow. Find a shady spot up here if you can, and just read your Bible. Don't mind, do you?" Smiling at my questioning look, he continued, "Of course, while you're reading it, you might take notice to the unscientific parts about hares chewing the cud, and daylight before the sun was created, and Joshua," he pronounced it as my father did, "Joshua, commanding it to stand still. And oh yes, the indelicate passages where the Lord commands the Israelites to dash out the brains of the enemy's babies. Collect them all and type them out and get them to me by tomorrow this time. I might want to use some of them. And oh, fishing in his pocket, here's a bunch of telegrams and letters. Go through them and see if there's any good ideas we can use. Probably not. I noticed one of them says, 'Have found missing link. Write instructions.'" This was a test case because after Tennessee passed a law in 1925 outlawing the teaching of evolution, some anti-fundamentalists tried to find a public school teacher to say to students that humans aren't examples of divine creation, but arose from lower forms of life. John Scopes at the Ray County High School in Dayton, Tennessee, agreed to do this and to be arrested for that teaching. National figures, including William Jennings Bryan and Clarence Darrow, would go to Tennessee to take part in the trial. The outcome was that Scopes was convicted. The defense lost, but even the defense encouraged that, Darrow asking the jury to declare Scopes guilty so that they could take it to a higher court. The Tennessee Supreme Court chose to decide the appeal so narrowly that its decision, in essence, was only to reduce the fine by half, $50 instead of $100. The law stayed on the books until 1967. It's 100 years after the Scopes trial, and all of this is still an issue in education, isn't it? Science versus religion, evolution in the schools. The Unitarian connection in the Scopes trial is centered on Charles Francis Potter, a Unitarian minister who earlier in his life was a Baptist pastor and an expert on biblical text and issues. He was the minister of West Side Unitarian Church in New York City. Today, much of what I bring you is from The Preacher and I, his autobiography. In that book, Potter wrote that it was the cooperation of scientists and religious liberals with the lawyers for the defense which made the Scopes trial a moral and strategic victory for the side of evolution, instead of the walkover for fundamentalism which Bryan had planned. The lawyers will get all the credit in the newspapers, but the religious liberals and the scientists, some of whom were never mentioned then nor since, deserve credit for yeoman work behind the scenes. Potter wrote that he went to Dayton, Tennessee as librarian and Bible expert for the defense. I would have gone anyways, for I had arrangements with magazines, but I welcomed the official status, which would enable me to be of assistance to the defendant and would also give me access to more information. Potter had recently taken part in a debate series in Carnegie Hall, arguing against John Roach Stratton, a Baptist fundamentalist preacher. To be sure, Potter wrote in his autobiography, the judge's decision at the evolution debate had been for Stratton, but the radio vote had been in my favor. And beaten or not, I knew the line of thought and habit patterns of the fundamentalists. Clara Cook Potter, the Unitarian minister's wife, also had a contribution to the Scopes trial. Charles Francis Potter wrote, Mrs. Potter, who should have been a lawyer herself, as I have often remarked after losing an argument, conceived the idea of countering the influence of the fundamentalist prayers by demanding that if prayers must be said in court, then there should be at alternate sessions prayers by modernist preachers. One defense lawyer overheard her and announced that her idea would never do. Besides, Mr. Darrow wouldn't like it. I know, for I'm his law partner in Chicago. My wife replied, Mr. Darrow has already given his approval to the idea. So on Tuesday morning, Darrow shocked the judge and all Ray County with him by interrupting the proceedings just as he called on Reverend Mr. Stribling to pray. Darrow quietly but firmly made objection to the practice of praying in court, claiming it tended to prejudice the jury to the Bible side of the case. I do not object, said Darrow, to the jury or anyone else praying in secret or in private, but I do object to the turning of this courtroom into a meeting house in the trial of this case. After the audible gasps of astonishment and murmurs of disapproval of the audacity of the agnostic lawyer had somewhat subsided, there was a brisk debate. But the judge soon overruled the objection, and the Reverend Mr. Stribling prayed, a shorter prayer this time, leaving out the President of the United States and a few others, but asking God to bless the proceedings of this court, bless the judge as he presides, and may there be in every heart and in every mind a reverence to the great creator of the world, thus reminding God not to forget which side he was on. In the afternoon, a petition was read in court stating that inasmuch as by your own ruling, all the people in the courtroom are required to participate in the prayers by rising, it would seem to us only just and right that we should occasionally hear a prayer which requires no mental reservations on our part and in which we can conscientiously participate. Potter was the signer at the top of the list. There was also a rabbi, a Congregationalist, and the Unitarian minister from Knoxville, Tennessee, Reverend D.M. Welch. The next day, it was Potter who was called on to give the prayer. One evening, Potter gave a speech outdoors in answer to an earlier public rally of Bryan. The Unitarian connection for the Scopes trial included ministers Potter, Burkhead, and Welch, and Potter's and Burkhead's wives. These people were of value because the liberal religion of Unitarianism promoted knowledge, reason, and openness to discovery through science, and the skills to convince that evolution and other scientific study was essential to educational, cultural, even religious advancement. And Potter's past brought insight into the opposition. His future would be 4 years later to start the First Humanist Society of New York. Then in 1933, he would be a signer of the Humanist Manifesto. When I was preparing this talk, I decided to look at our church newsletter from 1925, the Toledo Unitarian, to see if First Unitarian Church of Toledo was doing anything on evolution during this time of the Scopes trial. Let me read you a brief article from the October 2nd, 1925 edition. The Scopes trial. The Reverend Charles Francis Potter of New York City, who challenged the attention of America by his debates on evolution with Dr. J. Roach Stratton, fundamentalist, is to speak in our church auditorium on Wednesday evening, October 7th. That's 100 years and 5 days ago. At 8 p.m. on the humor and pathos of the Dayton trial. Mr. Potter was not only a witness of the trial, but prepared much of the biblical material for the defense. He also spoke as an opponent of the late Mr. Bryan at Dayton on the message of the liberal faith. This meeting is open to the public. Not only was our church interested, our people managed to get Potter himself to speak. The sermon of our minister, Reverend Horace Westwood, on October 11th was promoted in advance with this. All over the United States, anti-evolution societies are being formed with the definite purpose of prohibiting the teaching of evolution in the public schools. The death of William Jennings Bryan, 5 days after the trial ended, instead of providing a backset to the movement, has accentuated it. As Mr. Potter pointed out on Wednesday night, this is a serious menace to our academic and religious freedom. The fact of the matter is, however, that those who oppose evolution fear, and perhaps not without reason, that it is destructive to faith and spiritual values. More important than combating this legislative endeavor is it to remove the fears and misunderstanding on which it is based, and to show that evolution is really a help to faith. As a matter of fact, it not only strengthens the great spiritual values that religious leaders have proclaimed, but it furnishes the basis of a nobler truth. Can you defend evolution? Could you demonstrate it as a help to religion? Dr. Westwood will preach Sunday morning on the faith called evolution. 100 years later, to the week, we're still needing to bring up that many people are anti-science, and we religious liberals haven't stopped trying to make what we know in this world, found with and using science and reason, elements of religious life while improving the world. Fundamentalist people applying their beliefs to the detriment of any advancement by way of science and reason remains a major concern. We Unitarians, now Unitarian Universalists, continue to do the work of logic, of openness to reality, of moving for freedom over restriction. And I wonder, what have we inherited? What's in the wind? I'll talk about that next week. Blessed be, and so be it.
Thank you, Reverend Tim. And at this time, for the offering, we'll pass the baskets here in the sanctuary. And all of you, including our YouTube viewers, can also donate electronically or by mail. And for more congregational singing, let's sing number 404, What Gift Can We Bring?
And what token, what words can convey it, the joy of this day. When grateful we come, remembering, rejoicing, what song can we offer in honor and praise? Give thanks for the past, for those who had vision, who planted and watered so dreams could come true. Give thanks for the now, for study, for worship, for mission that bids us turn prayer into deed. This gift we now bring, this present, this token, these words can convey it, the joy of this day. When grateful we come, remembering, rejoicing, what song can we offer in honor and praise?
Before we get to coming soon, we're adding something to the service. On the second Sunday of every month, we hope, but there will be leeway when called for, we'll be having a time for shared ministry, sometimes with words from a member of our committee on shared ministry, which you might say is curating this service segment, or from a representative of one of the ministries of our church. Today, I invite Phil Zepp to tell us about our caring circle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Asked why I'm on the caring committee. I have a lot of different hats, but I thought, well, I can do something. I'm not good with cooking meals and hospital visits, but I can give people rides to church sometimes. I can get well cards, and I can wish people good things and help out wherever possible. So I'm on the caring committee because I can do something, and it's a good committee to be on because there's lots of us that occasionally need a good wish or a little help to get to an appointment or to get to church, and the caring committee helps to coordinate all of that. So welcome to that, and if anybody's interested, we can always use more help.
And Amelia. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil, and let's hear from somebody else. I'm trying to get my memory right. Amelia Bickerstaff, right?
Yes, it is.
And she's going to have some special words.
Hello, everybody. Hi. So we don't have a committee name just quite yet. We're still trying to figure out what we wanted to name it. But we are interested in putting on a little party for the congregation. And it's going to be like a social event where people can come and dance. We might have a DJ, some food, some music, and maybe even something to drink. We have a QR code questionnaire outside. It's a little QR code on a little piece of paper. If you hover your phone over it, if you pull up your camera, hover your camera over the QR code, it'll come up with a pop-up link. If you click the pop-up link, it'll take you to our questionnaire, and we'd really appreciate the congregation's opinion on a lot of how we should plan this and what would you want and what do you not want, and sort of things like that. So, and also if you would like a printout version of this questionnaire, please just come up and ask. We can absolutely do that. We just kind of wanted to go more with the QR code real quick before, we start printing on a bunch of paper. And then our hope is that this is going to be able to bring together community and give us another reason to celebrate life together. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Amelia. And thank you all for filling out some blanks and saying, how do you want a party? Now it's the coming soon part of our gathering, where we tell you what's scheduled for next Sunday, we give some announcements, and we also let you know what's up for right after we leave the sanctuary. Next Sunday, join us for Spiritual Forum in Fellowship Hall at 9:45 a.m. A month or so ago, there was an initial session for those in attendance to develop a covenant for Spiritual Forum. This coming Sunday will be part 2, another chance for those at Spiritual Forum to choose together, in conversation and through suggestions, how best to share that time with good grounding.
And for the 11 a.m. gathering next Sunday, Reverend Tim will continue the topic of the Scopes monkey trial in 1925, asking, based on the play Inherit the Wind, what have we inherited? Religion and evolution didn't eliminate all the issues of division on those topics over this past century.
And here's an event for today, just after coffee hour. At 1 p.m., the First U walking group will saunter, to use a term of the transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau, in Swan Creek Metro Park, 0.9 miles from here, according to Apple Maps. Meet at the Glendale entrance to the park.
And consider this a bonus trek. They will walk again at 6 p.m. on Wednesday at Irwin Prairie State Nature Preserve, entrance on the Bancroft Street in Holland.
On Tuesday here at the church from 1 to 3 p.m., you can join Jenny Gottman to watch a Threshold Conversations panel discussion, followed by a live question and answer session on the Unitarian Universalist theology of covenant. If you want to attend, RSVP to Jenny Gottman. Threshold Conversations are promoted as meaning-making for the future of UU faith formation.
And at 7 p.m. on Friday, the Unitarian Universalist musician Jim Scott returns for another concert, this one a multimedia event called A Vision for the Planet. While Jim performs, you'll see on a projection screen visuals that celebrate the beauty, wonder, and fragility of our Earth. You might know Jim Scott best for his being the composer of the very Unitarian Universalist hymn, Gather the Spirit, or for his being one of the creators of the Green Sanctuary program in which our church participates. But he also is a co-writer of the Missa Gaia, the Earth Mass, for the Paul Winter Consort, with whom he has also performed. Other musicians he's been on stage with, according to Wikipedia, are Joan Baez, Jackson Brown, Tracy Chapman, John Denver, Joni Mitchell, Odetta, and many others. The concert is a week from Friday, and there's a suggested donation of $20. But please, pay what you can. Nobody will be turned away.
And on Saturday, come to the church for Film Club at 1 p.m. There will be a potluck, then the feature film Gojira from 1954, the original Japanese version of the first movie in the Godzilla series. This one will be in Japanese with English subtitles. Godzilla's roar won't need a translation. After the screening, stay for a discussion and then help to plan next year's slate of films. And we know that for some of you, the timing will be tight, as you might be taking part in the No Kings protests, which our church is a part of in support of democracy, freedom, and equality, important issues in our nation. If you want to be at the No Kings event with the Toledo Unitarians, go to the south side of Monroe Street between Lauren Avenue and Royer Road, across the street from Red Robin. The demonstration is scheduled for 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Registration is requested but not required. You might see Krista Schneider for more details.
And the final coming soon entry is for me to invite you to join us in the fellowship hall after today's service for coffee, conversation, and social time.
Let's have one more observance of spiritual practice. We have gone beyond ourselves with the pastoral time and turned within for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Now, recognizing the Buddhist thread in our congregation, we will share a time of metta, having for and sending to all beings love, kindness, and compassion. We also have pagans among us, so we will follow that with the Wiccan Rede. Let's recite those together. May I, may we, and may all beings be well, be happy, be peaceful, be safe, awaken to the light of our true nature, and be free. And ye harm none, do what ye will. And now please join me in saying the words on the screen while Rebecca extinguishes the chalice. We send the flame from our Unitarian Universalist chalice with the love on which we center everything to fire up the world and spread equity, generosity, interdependence, justice, pluralism, and transformation. May your thoughts be wise, your lips speak truth, your heart know love, and your hands do good works all the days of your life. Merry meet, merry part, and blessed be.
Several weeks, no, actually, just 1 week I'm not saying the rest of it. I've been busy or sleeping.
I can do what I can do. That's all they ask, so I can talk to them.
I signed up when